Hello, everybody. We are live on the Front Door Show, brought to you by DJ Prieto for Fantastic Events. If you're just tuning in right now, we appreciate everybody on this very awful and rainy day. I don't know if you had the problem. I was about to go online, and ironically, I was telling Cheezeball here that all of a sudden I see a foot of water that's by the studio here, and literally had to just hacksaw the downspout and stuff like that. So it's a mess. And so we're here, we're live, and I'm looking at a little pot of water. I think is it receding then? Is it, okay, so what we did, it did help. so thank God, But here we are. Just wanted to invite everyone to log on, to share it and stuff like that. And as I tell everybody, all my guests, do me a favor, pretend this is the first time that's anybody seeing you, Caesar, and introduce yourself and tell them a little bit of history of you, who you are and stuff like that. Because, some people might know you, some people might not know you. So
Yeah. Well, my name's Cesar Salazar. They call me Cheezeball. Some people know me as DJ Cheezeball. I am a recording artist engineer. I graduated from Full Sail University as an engineer. And right now I'm a director for a large corporation of audiovisual company called PSAV, where so I make my bread and butter. But on the side, I always do, mobile DJ gigs and stuff like that. Once in a while, I get into the clubs, but there's so many people DJing at clubs now. I prefer just doing the, the private events.
Okay. So Caesar, how old were you when you first started DJing?
Oh man, I started in 8th grade in 1992 when I graduated. I was in Cicero. In Cicero, it's not like now with the kids, they had video game. Now they have video games, all kinds of internet stuff that they can do. Back then, if you didn't have a play system, you had to go outside and play either baseball on your bike, meet friends. Luckily, what we had in Cicero was DJ International, Benji. Benji had a little record store right on the corner of where school was. And I walked in, I stepped in there, and I ended up seeing records. I started buying records without turntables. And then one day I asked Benji, hey, where I need to get some turntables. Benji introduced me to one guy that sold me a set of turntables. And then just started playing, putting two and two together. I mean, I was always offbeat, but going into the record store, I started meeting a lot of people. In Cicero, there was a lot of DJs growing up in my time. And one of my biggest mentors was Wesley the Wizkid. He helped me. He showed me the ropes, and we started doing small gigs. When I was 16 years old, I was doing 21-year-old clubs in Cicero / Berwyn. I was going in DJing with him, so it was kind of cool. I liked it. Back then, it was all old school house music, classics. That's what we were more into back in '92. Once we graduated in 92, high school came in. From 92, 96, we had a lot of DJs. We had CZR, we had Wesley the Kid, we had Mike Hitman, Mike Huerta. Mike Huerta was one person that I followed a lot. He took me one day to his house to DJ with him, I remember going up
Central Park right there?
Yeah, and then he took me upstairs to his room and turned the turntables on, and then we're just going at it, which is I learned a lot from that. It was fun.
Cool. Just to let you know that as Waldo's online, so just in case.
Ozzy, oh man, I miss Ozzy. When I saw him reply, it brought me back memories with his hat and his cowboy boots, in front of the line trying to ID people.
No problem. So as a kid DJ, because you were a kid DJ, and Wesley's a little older than you, all these guys were a little older than you and stuff like that. Did you get into mobile? Did you go into club, or what did you do after kind of that transition?
At first, what happened was we started doing the mobile DJing stuff with Wesley, and then from once once we did that, once he had a couple of gigs out there at the clubs, the small local bars and stuff like that, he told me to join along and just help him out. You know, back then, don't forget, it wasn't like now where they have Serato and a hard drive. You had to take records, you know, and it wasn't one crate; it was several crates that we had to take. So
you were Wesley's crate carrier.
pretty much at the beginning, yes. I'm not gonna lie, you know, but he showed me a couple things, and you know, the people who know Wesley the Whiz Kid, it's he critiques your mixing every time you DJ, you know, and he's like, no, do it this way, you know. And I learned from that, you know, and that followed by my sister. Now my sister was my guinea pig, because now every time I DJ'd when I used to live at home, she'd listen to me before Wesley or any of the guys, so I would stop getting criticized for that. So yeah, first it was the mobile DJing, and then well, like I said, once we were in high school between 92 and 96, we did our first battle of the DJs there at Morton East High School.
Okay.
Obviously, like I said, we had a bunch of DJs. We had Angelo, I don't know if you know DJ Romeo, Too Sweet Zeke, rest in peace, DJ Lalo. All these guys were all in that same spot, you know, different time, 8 different ages, but we all got together once in a while. And when we did the battle of DJs, believe it or not, CZR won that, you know. So it was something that caught my attention. I loved seeing people dance. I loved seeing people just have fun, you know. And I was like, I want to be part of that.
Okay, so I think where did Cheezeball come in?
I knew that. I knew that was gonna come, and I'm finally gonna be able to say it. In 8th grade, there was a girl named Veronica Sanchez and Tito Sanchez. They were both going out. And Caesar Cheezer rhyme, you know, Caesar Cheezer. So I was like, you know what? I don't like that, you know, I don't like that. And one day I confronted her, where we got into an argument in the cafeteria about that, you know, and she was so upset. Instead of, you know, insulting me, she said cheeseball in a bad attitude, you know. All of us just started laughing, and it just stuck from there, you know. But at first I never liked it. I never liked the name Cheezeball. But, you know, I grew into it, and I was like, you know what, it's unique. It's not like everybody else saying, you know, throwing down this, or, you know, it's just a different, you know, people when they first get to know me, it's like, Cheezeball, who's Cheezeball, you know?
Right.
But now people don't even know my real name. They just know me by Cheese or Cheezeball.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So it's just in clarification, because I noticed that I accidentally spelled your name wrong. It's Cheese with a Z, like because of Caesar. That's what. Okay, now I get it.
Yeah, and everybody used to say, "Dude, you're spelling it wrong. It's with an S." I'm like, no, I want to be different. I want to put the Z. Is that okay? So even till today, people are like, "Dude, why do you put a Z with a cheese ball? You know, when it's an S?" I'm like, it's just they didn't know the story about that. So I hated it, you know, for several years, but now it's just who I am now. I'm just Cheese.
Louis Roland Rivera says hello. Long time no see, by the way.
Oh my God, yeah, everybody. Leon, A-Bomb, Nandi. Yeah, I miss hanging around with those guys, man. You know, it's with the stuff that I'm doing now, I'm pretty busy with that. If it's not with the audio visual, it's the family kid, you know, with the kids and all that. It's pretty hectic around here.
All right, so you're DJing down by Berwyn Cicero. You're doing the mobile gigs. We battle the DJs over at Morton East, and you're now what, high school, college?
Yeah. No, we were in high school. We were still in high school, like a junior, senior high school. Obviously, we were taking over for all the proms and all that stuff. So, you know, you as well as anybody else knows, Prieto, back in the days when you did house parties, man, everybody was a critique. Everybody, you know, you had to do the stuff right in order for them to dance, you know. House parties, especially house music, like disco or classics, you know, it was the hardest thing to do, because back in the day we didn't have no intros or outros. You had to mix, you know, straight into the blend, you know, and you had to know your beats and all that stuff. Nowadays,
you had to know the song.
You had to know the song. Yeah, you had to know the song, and you know, if you had to do doubles, you had to do doubles to get out of the, you know, the mix. Now it's easy. Now it's, you know, they have intros and outros, and the funny part is, one day at 720, there was a DJ that was there on the second floor, and we had a DJ meeting, And he sat down with us, Andy Lopez, and all the guys were there. And he's like, does anybody have any DJ friendly music? And we were all drinking, you know, we're all spit our drinks out. I was like, what are you talking about, dude? We make our own. We make our own intros, our own outros, you know. And back in the day, back at 720, we couldn't use swear words at first. When we first played hip hop, we couldn't put any swear words. We had to reverse it and all that stuff.
Well,
So-
okay. So what time did you transition to nightclub, or when did you go into that whole?
Well, in '99, I graduated from Morton East, and we were in between those years. I was going with Wesley a lot to UC construction, the record pools and all that stuff. That's where I met everybody. I met Fast Daddy. I met a lot of artists there. And I kind of started liking that studio feel that, you know, back in the day when you were doing your mixes, when we were doing mixes, it was on a reel-to-reel tape. And we couldn't, if we wanted to edit something and cut it out, we had to splice it. We had to cut the tape and then retape it, you know, nice. And then hopefully we were able to, you know, put it together where you don't, you know, hear that little pause. And I like that stuff. I was amazed by it. So when one of those days, Wesley had seen a advertisement for a Full Sail University. It's an audio recording engineering school. It's like a college. And for fun, we wanted to go check it out to see, you know, oh, it's a free trip to Florida. So let's go to Florida for, you know, it's paid for by them. So we went, you know. Obviously we didn't have the intentions to go and go to the college. It was just a free trip, you know, let's just go have fun and spend 2 days out there. But going into the studio, it was the best thing that's ever happened to me. I learned everything from post-production to live recording and studio recording. So I've worked with a couple of artists, you know, recording them, and then a couple of live shows I've done because of that. And once I graduated in '99, while I was out there before that, I was DJing at a club, Baja Beach Club in Orlando, Florida.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So that was every weekend out there, you know. There's a couple times in the semester I never passed that because I kept going out there and drinking all the time, you know. But that was the lay of the land out there. It was, you know, if you're a DJ, you got to go mix, especially if you were from Chicago, Miami, or New York. They loved you. No matter what you played, they loved you because you were, you know, from out of town.
Chicago.
Yeah, you were a Chicago DJ, and then there's a lot of tourists there, and then they say you are from Chicago. People are like, oh, he's from Chicago. And, you know, obviously the mixing right helped a lot, but I spent my time out there. And then when I came back in Chicago in '99, I ended up working with Wesley at 720.
Okay, so you were DJing with at 7. That was the first 720, because
Correct.
Let's make sure that people understand that there was 720 early. And then it closed down for about 3 years, and then it was 720 afterwards, right? That both all of it owned by Ed Tunney, but I just want to make sure people understood that.
Yes. The first here's the funny part about 720. When the very first time I wanted to go there, I went with one of my friends, Jose, and he had a Lincoln Town Car with tinted windows, you know, and he's cruising with music pounding and all this stuff. We're thinking we're badasses, we're cool. We get out of the car. Before we even step out of the car, Joe and Big Mike turned around and said, "You guys can't come in tonight. Have a good night." And I'm like, "What did we do? Let me, you know, can we get in? We're dressed up nice, you know, but just because we had that type of car, you know, they're like, you guys can't get in. Have a good night." And after that, I'm like, you know what? One of these days, I'm gonna be in here. I'm gonna mix in here. And sure enough, the week later, Wesley gives me a call. He goes, "Dude, we got a gig at 720." I'm like, "Let's go. We're going." So. The first 720, yes, I helped Wesley at 720 on the first floor. Before we started, I think it was DJ Ernie. Ernie was the first DJ there on the first floor, and then we took over from that.
Hold on one second, Dad. Is it still coming in? Yeah. So did that didn't solve it? No. Is it the other down? We're talking about downspout stuff. I trust me. I've been helping my dad and stuff like that. But is it slowing down a bit, or is it still coming in? Oh Jesus! I might have to shut this interview quickly, so because I gotta do this. So you're 720, you're DJing with Wesley, and how soon after that did 720 close down? Do you remember that?
720, we were there for about 3 years,
Okay.
2.5, 3 years, DJing with him on the first floor. We were playing more mainstream music, and
I think that was, so you started there in 1999 to 2003?
2000, yeah, 2002,
Okay,
something like that.
yeah, then it closed down and then reopened up in 2005, 2006. Is that correct? I want to say it was 2000, August.
It was August 2006.
Okay, so
And then the grand opening
I
was
remember it was-
September 7th with the big flyer, Labor Day or something like
Right,
that, or something.
right. Well, it was the Labor Day weekend, and it was the 4-day weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I remember that. That was the 2006. It was 9 months after I brought Pitbull to Volcan.
Yes.
That's how I'm very aware about the times and stuff like that. So what did you do in that time frame of that absence of the 3 year?
Well, from the first 720, we call it the first 720, second 720, but the first 720, like I said, DJing and getting on the mic, was all nice and dandy. But I got more into the management with Angel Caristillo, Flipper, and Felix. They were the managers at 720 and the first 720. Angel helped me. Angel was showing me a lot of the ropes of how to do things and stuff like that. So when I wasn't DJing, I was, shadowing him, trying to learn the ropes and stuff. And towards the end of that first era, it was Ed. Ed was helping me. Ed was giving me little small management stuff to help get done. And then I eventually ended up taking over as a manager at 720 before we closed for about 6 months. And then once it closed, we went with Eddie Tura at Pasha's.
Okay, all right. That's why I was wondering where you were at after that, between the
Eddie Tura. We were at Pasha's. That's where I met Styx, Cisco, Eddie V, and DJ Scream, Lalo, and all them cool guys. So it wasn't the same. It was a big turnaround from 4.5 floors to one main floor, but it was what we had to deal with, and then all these other little small locations that we started doing again, going back to our hood, our Cicero neighborhoods and DJing in local places,
Yeah, right. Well, listen, I don't mean to cut you off, Cheezeball, and this is unfortunate I'm doing it because I'm looking at this and this isn't stopping. So I got to help my dad, and I apologize to cutting you off on this. If you want to do this again, give me an hour, and maybe we'll come back. If you have time to do this about an hour,
yeah,
half an hour or something like that.
Yeah, if you want, just let me know when you want to.
So yeah, he's saying that probably another day, probably going to be that's its own audio. So what it will do is I'll contact you, and I apologize, guys. It looks like like you were talking before, your basement might be flooding too. So
yeah, I might be swimming in it.
Then, all right.
All right, man. Take care. Right. Fix that. Get that fixed. Okay.
All right.
Take care.
We'll do. Bye. How you doing, guys? This is part 2. This is doing Cheezeball here. And it's funny because we were just finished talking about when he was talking about 720, part 1 and part 2, just like this interview. That was part 1 and part 2. If you heard the last one, unfortunately, I had a situation which there was flooding in the basement here. And honestly, Cheezeball, I got to tell you, thank God I had the interview. Because when I came down, that's when the leak started. So just before I was setting up, I caught the little puddle there, and I think if I didn't have this interview, I would have been in a foot full of water down here, and then all this stuff would have been messed up. So that would have been messed up as well. So thank you for coming in and part 2.
No, thank you for having me. I was like, man, you know what? I was barely getting into the conversation. We have a lot to catch up on. You know, first and foremost, man, I forgot to thank you for giving me the opportunity, but also congratulate you on your success, man. You know, you're one of the main promoters out there that is still up and kicking with a lot of people. You know, you got a great following. Alhambra Palace is an awesome place. You know, I don't go out as much anymore because you know, my better half doesn't let me go out anymore. You know, she knows how much I get in trouble. But
So, are you saying you're the worst half?
oh, it's I'm not no comment right now. At this time, I need a Snickers bar just to keep my.
So so the last thing you were talking about is that when the first 720 closed down, you went with Eddie Tooraw, and I do listen to my interviewers, by the way, and you had said that Leon just jumped on as well, and you had
Oh
said
yeah,
that
yeah,
you went with Eddie Tooraw to La Passage. Okay,
yes,
that's where we left off at. So so continue with that.
yeah. Well, we were there for quite a while. You know, we were trying other clubs, but you know, since you know the 720 was our main bread and butter, we couldn't. There was no other place that would pay us the same. Now, out of everybody, Ed Tunney would be the number one person that I thank a lot because he showed us so many things. You know, he yelled at us all the time, but he did it for a good cause. And as part of his crew, he treated us like family. You know, and he always took care of us. If it was from a busboy barback to DJs or management, he always took care of us. And you know him more than anybody. You know, we have our ups and downs. You know, but him being the owner, obviously, he would slap us in the wrist and say, "Hey, get your stuff together," you know.
But you said that he kind of trained you in management that during the first time, right there towards the end, he was
Yeah,
training
towards the end, I believe Felix, one of the managers, Felix, had to leave due to the work, and there was a position open. So I kind of took, you know, the role of the management with Angel and Felix, Angel and Flipper.
Flipper. Yeah, Flipper.
Yes. Flipper.
Just in case people don't realize, Flipper was one of the all-star dancers from the time when they were doing the. So Flipper and I, when Al was on last night, Flipper was like, "Oh yeah, Flipper," you know. So a lot of people don't realize that he was in the dance groups per se.
Yeah, no, and you know what? When precisely that, when I used to DJ at the Catacombs in the basement, I used to put the ghetto booty music, you know. And when Flipper used to go downstairs, he'd pass by and he'd be dancing and then doing his shows, you know. And when there was no one around, he used to dance in the middle of the dance floor doing his, you know, his dance moves. I'd never seen a big muscular guy move that good as Flipper, you know.
Oh, but he was one of the top dancers in the group.
It was he? Okay.
He was one of the top dancers, and you know, and because he was so big at this point, you know, but I knew Flipper from way back in the days, and he wasn't a small guy, but he was a really good dancer, and I remember he was like one of the key dancers in the group and stuff like that. So I knew Flipper young, and then I got to see Flipper, you know, a little older, kind of same thing like me. You know, everybody knew I was a little young and tiny and stuff like that. As you get older, you get bigger and stuff like that. I'm not gonna say fat, but we get healthy. Let's put
yes,
it that
we're happy. We're happy, healthy.
yeah.
And it was funny. It was funny because DJing at the Catacombs, it was like, you ever see, you know, the MC Hammer dance move when he moves side to side? Flipper used to do that because you remember the DJ booth was in the office, Ed's office, and they had like two windows, and that's all you can see, and it was plastic, so you could communicate with your friends and your guests from the club. And Flipper, you just go like this from side to side, just dancing back and forth, you know. So those were great memories. You know, those Club 720. The first part was awesome. The staff, the management, the environment was a lot different. It was a Latin club. It was really a Latin club. People loved going there. And you were a big part of it. You know, you brought the spice with our salsa dances, you know, like the lessons and stuff like that, which, mind you, I learned just by standing and watching there. You know, that's how I learned how to dance with my wife.
So, but I don't know if you remember that I was working with him on Tuesday nights mostly. That was right that was pre Tuesday night boxing. That was when I was doing, because Marco Hernandez was also working
Yeah,
there
I remember.
during the time, and I remember that was Tuesday nights when working, and there's another story about the Tuesday night boxing, how that all happened, and it didn't happen at 720, and ended
No,
up happening at Tropicana per se.
yeah, yeah. I remember because I did my first salsa concert as an engineer. I believe it's called Andromedas on Elston.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, that was my first one, and I was scared because I was the main front of house guy, and all these people are looking, they're singing, and then the other engineer, the monitor engineer, the engineer on the side for the stage monitor, he got sick, so the guy told me he'd go over there, during the mid show, and I didn't know anything, for what his settings were, so the singers were just like telling me what to do. Hey, fix this, fix that. At the same time, you had the boxing matches down the block across the street, with the other clubs going on. So I remember those. Those were good old days. Those were fun days.
Yep. So after Passage, you're doing Passage with Eddie Turall. How long did that last for you?
I don't remember correctly. I think maybe half, no, 3 to 6 months, something like that. It wasn't a lot. It was something in and out, and from, like I said, from there, I continued my course in engineering, in audio engineering, recording artist. I worked at Hinge Studios and a very well-known places called CRC, Chicago Recording Company. Those are the #1 recording studios in Chicago. I got a chance to help record R. Kelly and a couple of other artists through those 3 years that we were down from Club 720. And then doing, like I said, on my days off, I went to Nitro. Nitro was with Tony Batoy. I went there and I started hanging out there. They opened the doors for me, not to DJ, but just to be there every Sunday night. And that's where I met Sly Hula Hula Fox. And yeah, from there.
That was Sly and Abraham as well. That was out there as well.
Abe, and his wife, Soul. I remember her. Let her rest in peace. She's up in heaven right now. But yeah, that's she used to do the contests up there. She used to win all the time. Up on the contest. But Abe was there, and I didn't know Abe at the time. We really got to know each other at 720 when we both worked there. But it was fun. So I used to hang out with Sly on the weekends. I used to be in Fullerton on the north side every weekend. We at his shop, at his music shop, and up on Fullerton. We used to call each other the Fullerton Houseboys. Hanging out with Sly, I ended up meeting Mike Hitman Wilson and a couple other guys, which was fun. Nonstop, Mario Smoking Diaz, and all these other guys that I'd never met from the north side. I started getting to know each other. Moving from there, I ended up working with Ryan B Productions. Ryan B, the promoter in Logan Square. He was the known promoter for Logan Square.
And then you got the exciting phone call from Ed Tunney, right?
Yeah, the one day he called us at his house to talk, and he let us know that he's remodeling and redoing Club 720. We got all excited. We were happy, and we didn't know where we were falling, what position we were had. We just knew we were coming as DJs, and I ended up taking a management spot. I solidly took a management spot there with Homero and all the other guys, and then Mike Messina took a role in that too.
So me and you hadn't met each other yet, technically.
We met each other before, but not really like getting to know each other. Yes, correct.
Right. And where do you remember where we met before the 720 aspect? I mean, maybe being introduced. Hey, this is Cheezeball, and that's probably the most introduction that we had.
Yeah.
But do you remember where we met the first time?
I don't remember. I know it was a while before. It was
because it had to have been at the first 720.
The first
If it was
the first 720 is when we actually started, getting to know each other. But you were promoting another spot when I was out, a young one, and I remembered you DJing. You gave me one of your CDs, the Caliente CD, which I still have.
Well, there was 5 calientes.
Well,
So there was
the first with the girl dancing.
Ritmo Caliente.
Yeah, Ritmo Caliente. Correct.
Yeah, that was the first one. That was the first one.
Yeah.
And that was the start of the everything per se. That was good. So you get the phone call. I had a different aspect of it because I got the phone call from Henry Cardenas actually. Okay. And Henry Cardenas is the one who, that was the time I was doing Volcan. I don't know if you knew that. I had just brought Pitbull and it was very successful, 2,600 people and stuff like that the very first time. And I was having some issues with Ivan Fernandez at Volcan, and Henry.
You froze? I don't know, you froze?
He froze, I think.
You froze.
Here. And, Ahí quédate porque we are behind.
I don't know. I think you froze. Let me see if we can get him back on, Peter back on.
And we are live again, part 3, as we said. Jesus Christ, I don't know why that did it this way again. Guys, so we're back again. And like, if it cuts off like this again, and it has happened before, it isn't the first time that it hasn't happened before. Just stay online, because what happened is that the internet went down on this side, which is weird because like I have one computer and I have a second computer, and the second computer is fine. It's not like they're it's, and I don't know if it's just this particular.
Is it? Are you doing Wi-Fi or are you doing hardline?
Wi-Fi. I'm gonna say the Wi-Fi. That's why it's that's don't have that set up like that. So sorry.
No, it's okay. I mean, I've had that problem, and I just go hard. When I do interviews, I do hardline. It eliminates the problems of cutting out sometimes, right? But it's technology, dude. And it happens. It's just like when you're DJing and the speakers blow out, or somebody touches the turntables, or someone spills the drink on your CD players. What can you do?
That's the worst. That's the worst. So, okay. So this is part 3. Welcome, guy. Sly Hula Fox has just jumped on as well. I see him as well.
I know. He just requested me again on Facebook. I miss Sly. Sly was fun times with Sly Hula Fox. And if he's listening, FHB Productions, I remember we started that crew when we were in Fullerton.
So here we got the phone call from Ed.
Yeah.
I go to the meeting. I think that's when we officially met, because we had a meeting at 7:20 before they officially opened up. Now, I remember, and I don't mean this in a derogative way, but I remember you were interested in not so much as having, or I should say, it wasn't so much as me DJing, because there were a lot of guys, like I know there was Ricky Aguajita and stuff like that, but because I was doing so much of the Latin market, you guys were like, oh, well, we got our group of DJs as well. And I know Ed was more looking for the marketing aspect of it.
Yeah.
And I says, well, you know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. And I told him, I said, listen, I have a bunch of guys that DJ for me as well. You know, Alex Perez, I had, there was 16 guys, Neurotic, Eddie
Edgar Marroquin, yeah.
Right. So all these guys that I knew, Luis Roller Rivera and stuff like that. So then I remember we decided to do the first night, and I would do the marketing per se. And at the time, if you remember, because of my following, I had over 160,000 emails. I had from one of the largest databases and stuff like that. And I don't know if you remember, but I was working with Constant Contact at the time. And a true story about the Constant Contact. I don't know if you remember that, because it was shortly, I think within the 6-month period, they went public.
Okay.
And they dropped me in Constant Contact, believe it or not, because of and it was just crazy because here I basically, I don't want to say I got them on the map, but because everybody was watching what I was doing as far as the success of my marketing per se with Constant Contact, everybody was joining Constant Contact. And trust me, Frank Monroy we contacted each other. You know, I had no, hey man, go with Constant Contact, go with Constant. I was telling every promoter, not just Latin promoter. I was telling every club promoter that was out there, and I was getting contact from everybody. Says, nah, Constant Contact, Constant Contact, Constant Contact. And little did I know, one of the CEOs from Constant Contact calls me up and says, hey, Angelo, I'm sorry to tell you this, but we just went public. And I was, I guess, a high risk in the fact that I was all these bounces that were happening from all the 160,000 emails that were going out, because I was sending out a million emails a year. That was the truth.
I remember you sitting on the first floor before the weekend, and you were going to send out your email blast, and you just started going at it, and then you were sending them out at the same time you were getting obviously the rejecting of the bad emails, right?
Right.
And
right.
I do remember all that. I remember that you were also worrying about getting all the contacts from that company so that they wouldn't take them. I remember that exactly.
Yeah, and I got them all. They were, and I didn't find out any of this until I joined another company. And they basically, one of the guys said, oh yeah, I guess everybody in the tech news kind of talks and stuff like that, they knew about Constant Contact dumping me and stuff like that. So it was unfortunate. I was in a true success in a sense, but it was just a learning experience too. And when I went with the new company, and it actually worked out fine. It worked out fine. But I remember I was more concerned about the fact that because I was handling the guest list, and that's what kind
I remember that.
I was handling the guest list. I was handling it, and at the time there was text messages that were happening as well at the same time. And again, it comes to the whole thing about the jumping on the cutting edge of marketing per se at that time, because and if everybody knows that I tell everybody that my email list was created because of the first Latinos had their emails through their colleges, and that's what I got. That's how I was able to get all those emails, because I was there. With Anzo and with Tony's over there at Club PM, and then obviously it grew into bigger at Volcan and stuff like that. So what was crazy, and I don't know if I ever expressed this to you, but the success of the crowd that came to 720 Part 2 was because when I first started Volcan, everybody was 18 and over. That was a 3-year period. So the moment that Ivan decided to get rid of me, and I say get rid of me because he literally dumped me, my 18-year-olds had just turned 21. So they got the real first 21 and over club at 720. So it worked out for everybody, and obviously. And
I know. The lines. I remember the lines were crazy. When we used to DJ on the first floor, we hated it. Wesley and I hated it because it was constant knocking on the windows. You know, I was like, hey, let me in. And, you know, and Ed used to turn around and say, do not turn around, do not turn around. So people knocking very hard, almost, you know, with keys and stuff and trying to get our attention. We couldn't turn around. You know, he's like, do not turn
Is that
around.
why they painted, is that why they painted the windows at the front? Is that why
Yeah, they shattered us, they shadowed them so they people cannot. It was constant. We were afraid of people, you know, scratching them or even they wouldn't break them, but that's how hard. I mean, you heard the music on the first floor. It was very, very loud, and for us to hear the pounding on the window, you know, it's like we had to turn around to see who it was, and you know, hey, let me in, get me in, and you know, people waiting in line. We would cause a commotion, and not just us. It was any DJ. I loved it. Like Ricky Abujita Perez, Dinamico, Andy Lopez, Matador, all of them on the second floor. That was the best. That was the best. Then we had one time we had DJ Unique at 720 in the basement. Don't forget Spin Doctor. Spin Doctor was another one. You know, he's
right.
a phenomenal DJ. And you know, we had a group. We had a big squad. And you coming in at first, you know, the guys that really knew you, they were all excited. You know, me on the other hand, I was like, okay, this is a new guy coming in. You know, whose spot is he taking? Is he taking mine? Who's he taking? You know, we didn't want to leave from the first floor, but then Ed saw that. Well, we started playing hip hop. I think that was not the best decision we made as in 720, because that changed the whole environment for us. I started playing hip hop. And then the one time, and then Ed came and they said, turn that off. You know, it was a Latin club. We didn't think of that. We just wanted the popularity, the fame, you know, the people loving it. And people, when we played the first time hip hop, I played Naughty by Nature, hip hop hooray. People were going crazy. Hands were going up all crazy. He let me play for half an hour and then we had to change it back. Then the following Saturday, he forbidden us, not forbidden us, but he said, don't play that too much. Let's keep it Latin. Let's keep it the way, the format that we're accustomed to. And sure enough, half an hour into the opening of the club, people were coming up to us and saying, what time's the hip hop? What time's the hip hop? And we're like, we couldn't tell them no, but we did is, you know, there was two cute girls that came up and said, hey, Cheezeball, where's the hip hop? I'm like, you know what? And then Wesley jumped in and he's like, go tell Ed, let us play hip hop. Go tell Ed to let us play hip hop. But sure enough, you know, a bunch of people were asking Ed, hey, Ed, when's the hip hop? Ed turned around and he said, play the music. We played the music and it went off, you know, it kicked off to what it was. It got too packed on the first floor, you know, so they had to move us up to the third floor, you know, and that was
the big room, right?
the big,
room.
the 3.5.
Right, up there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was. So let me make sure that I remember the rooms and correct me if I'm wrong. So we had the main floor, which was kind of top 40, kind of like a little bit of everything stuff like that. Then the second floor was Latin room, right? That's where we had the salsa merengue and stuff. We had Jed Walker as a teacher as well.
Yes.
I was thinking that. We had Ricky Aguajita, and in the basement there was some bachata, some more of the reggaeton, more the merengue. Like
a little bit, yeah. Because the second floor, I think they were playing rock en español and all that other stuff. You know, which was it was a good format. It worked. You know, once we started playing hip hop, everybody wanted to play hip hop. You know,
right? Every floor except
every floor, and then the funny part was people would come down and say, hey man, you know what? They just played this song on the second floor. And, you know, and they're like, oh, damn. So we're texting every DJ, you know, hey, dude, stop playing this. I'm playing this, you know, and it got to a point where we had to sit down and have meetings to see what play. If we wanted to play that genre, then, you know, at least the other floor would play in a different time, you know, a time frame.
So just to be clear also, Ed Tunney, when you asked us to come in, Ed Tunney was technically not the owner anymore, right? It became Mike. That became the owner, right?
Mike became the owner, correct. He Ed was still the owner, and you know, for I don't know how long it was, so maybe a month or so, or maybe 2 months. I don't know the time frame on that, but he was the owner, and then Mike took over. Mike Messina took over. Yeah,
Mike Messina, and then he had two partners as well, two business partners as well, Scott and I forgot the other guy's name.
Stephen Art.
Stephen Art, that's it, that's them. So I think we went on for 720 for a good 3 years, was it? Was it like a 3-year period?
Maybe a little longer, a little longer than that.
Okay.
I'm not too sure. I don't remember. I'm old now, so I don't remember the time frame on that.
Because that's when they wanted to change it to
Religion.
religion. That's right. That was it. Religion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we all kind of said, this is going to mess it up for everybody.
Yeah.
We knew this was not the direction. And we would, I know I did. I think you did too. And a couple guys, we would tell Ed Tunney, look what these guys are going to do.
Oh, we cried to him. We like, dude, what happened? Why come back? You know, it was, the separation from letting the 720 people in from the first floor, and then only religion people going to the back. Two separate lines. It confused everybody. And then to a point where you can only go to the basement, first floor and second floor, and you couldn't go to the third floor. People didn't like that. People got upset about it. And at this time, I was a manager, a full management on staff with Lindsay and Homero. So we had a lot of people complain about that. But we had to roll with the punches. It was a club. It was a club that we loved. I loved it because of the first 720. And we try to bring that vibe back. The other reason they had me there was because they knew my degree. They knew I had an audio engineer degree for live sound. And Al Davis used to be the sound guy for Club 720. And then, little by little, I took it, where I adjusted the sound. I did the maintenance on it. And then, we only called him for like big things.
Right. So we had couple of notable concerts that we did there as well.
We did. We had Robin Thicke, Janet Jackson. We had a couple of, what else?
Well, we had Fast Eddie. I remember we
Fast
played
Eddie.
Fast Eddie. Brenda K. Starr.
Yeah,
There's a picture that we have of Brenda K. Starr. Because I know at one point we had suggested that was big during the first 720. There was a lot of concerts there. They would do concerts, and obviously the Latin concerts were upstairs, the live music. And I remember that because of the way they remodeled it, the second 720, it was tough to do concerts per se because they were seating and it kind of took over that area and stuff like that. And we were that's why I know we were kind of saying, we should try to really think about doing concerts here. And I think if you remember when we got Robin Thicke, that was the and
that was the scariest one that we had.
It's scary in the fact because it was okay. So I'm the one who got that concert. I'm the one who I think it was GCI or I forgot it was the people to do the concert, and I approached Mike.
Yeah.
And it was funny because Mike didn't know who the hell he was. All right. And the only way I could tell Mike is like, oh no, that's Alan Thicke's son. That was like, Alan Thicke from Growing Pains, stuff like that. And then I go, oh, he's got an R&B sound to it. It's not hip hop. It's R&B. That was, and honestly, it was.
It was funny because when they said an R&B singer, me not knowing who he really was at the time, I was like, who the hell is this guy? And he passed by the stage, in the middle of the stage, and I didn't even think it was him. I'm like, and I'm telling the guys, hey, wait until this artist comes so he could do his rehearsals. We went through his rehearsals, and he started singing, and I'm like, oh shit, that's Robin Thicke, And I got to meet him, and his voice is phenomenal. That was one of the best ones, but the scariest because the security had to close the first floor doors and actually put their arms to close the door because people try to bum rush up to the second and to the third floor.
So I don't know if you're aware that there was a line. I remember it. Tell me if you don't remember it. There was a line. Oh, no. The event was on a Sunday, remember?
Yes, it was on a Sunday.
So we would leave. Right, but we would leave and we would kind of BS and stuff like that and hang out with Mike and everybody and stuff like that. It's almost like 7 o'clock in the morning because it closes at 5 o'clock. But then, we would unwind and stuff like that. We wouldn't be, doing any music or anything like that, but we would just be there and stuff like that.
Just mellowing down. Yeah.
Right. And daylight would have come out, right? And I don't know if you remember this. We walked out and there were like 6 people waiting in line already at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I was like, what that's kind of nuts. People, and then we have to be back there at 11 o'clock in the morning because, and it says, all right, we'll get some sleep, get something to eat, and I think most of the times we went to go get something to eat right after the club and stuff like that. I think that particular morning, because it was so, 7 o'clock in the morning, we got to be back early. We're like, all right. So I think we all went home and we came back about 11, some of us 12 o'clock, some of us 1 o'clock. And I remember walking in at 11 o'clock, I got there and there's a line like all the way to the middle of the block now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a good show. That's the way we're looking at it. It's going to be a good show. And so come about, I want to say the doors open at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. 7 o'clock.
So I think about 6 o'clock, I go outside, and remember, I was handling the guest list too. Remember, I was handling the guest list, and I told Mike, dude, I got 3,000 names on this list. I mean, it was 3,000 names. So I said, dude, this is gonna be. I don't know how we're gonna do it, but remember, they had set it up that there were the TVs were getting in every floor. If you couldn't get on the third floor,
we would sync them so they can watch it. Yes.
Right. And so we kind of said, okay, third floor gets filled, the second floor gets filled, first floor, then or the basement, and then the first floor. So every floor got filled. And I remember.
And we thought that would be fine. We thought people would be satisfied to watch him on TV on every other floor, and nope. One of the second floor TV didn't work. Something happened. The first floor was working, but they wanted to see him in actual, on stage.
So for me, being outside and handling the guest list, this is the part that because you were handling things inside.
Yeah.
The part that you don't know, I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but I go outside and somebody asks me, where's the end of the line? And because when you walked out the door, the end of the line wrapped around the first corner and went all the way down Wells Street, to Superior Street. Well, it was Superior, went all the way to Franklin. That's right, where the tracks were right there.
Yeah.
And then it went from Franklin to Huron. Huron came back on Wells, and the end of the line, as the guys asked me, where's the end of the line? I go, right there. So it literally wrapped around one entire block.
I remember, I believe it was Mike that saw me. He goes, dude, and I'm like, what's up, dude? He's like, did you see the line outside? I'm like, no, but I heard it's a long line. He goes, no, it's insane. I'm like, and I know how Mike is, I'm like, yeah, okay, Mike. He's like, go, 5 minutes, let's go, let's take a walk. So I'm like, okay, let's take a walk. It was a chance for me to get out, out of the club. Working in a management and stuff like that, you got to be there early to count money, check everything. So by the time we open the door, we already have 6-7 hours in. So me taking a step outside was oh hell yeah, let me go outside. And he's like, let's walk. And he's walking, smoking a cigarette. I grabbed the cigarette. We're walking. We walk all the way down. We were amazed because it went all the way around. And just like Ozzy just mentioned, it was all the way wrapped around to Hooters. Right.
Well, that's what I said. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It was, and that's why when somebody asked me, I go, the end of the line is right there. Meaning like you could see the beginning of the line and the end of the line in the same block. Because it literally wrapped all the way around. And it was like crazy.
People were asking us that they were give us $200 just to jump the line. They were, they were paying top dollars just to get in. And it was. I wasn't the one doing anything because I was up inside, but people were telling me the rumors like, dude, they were offering us $100 just to get in.
And it was a free event too. On top of
it was.
It was a free event. It was a free event. So I remember at one point we had to close the doors. We couldn't let anybody else in, and I think that was at 10 o'clock, I think that's what we closed the doors.
I don't remember.
Let
Yeah.
in more people in we couldn't close the doors, but what I thought was scary is that nobody wanted to leave. The crowd didn't want to leave. They were just, we told everybody, "No, that's it. Doors are closed. We're at full capacity." Remember, we were very worried that, because I think I want to say there was almost like 2,000 people in the 2,000 people in the place. And I know that was like very borderline that, okay, all you need is a fireman to come in here and boom, close the doors and stuff like that. So
and they were outside. The police, the chief and the commander, they were all outside, and Mike had to deal with that. Mike was the one that had to deal with all the officials out there, trying to do the crowd control, and all our security, was all on high alert because we had to hire extra security for that day because outside was as worse as the inside, and then people waiting in line were drinking. So that's another thing that we had to worry about. But hey, you know what? It was.
I mean, it wasn't, there wasn't a trouble crowd or anything like that.
No.
It was actually pretty, there was no fights or anything like
No,
that.
no.
It was really a mature, it hit R&B crowd that was there. So I remember that it was, I think that was probably the busiest I've ever seen 720. Like it was.
No, the other one it was the B96 Halloween party. Remember that one? It was B96 Halloween.
I remember a New Year's party.
Well, New Year's were always packed, but the B96 Halloween party was Eddie and Jobo, and then Styles and Roman were there.
Ah, yes, I do.
Remember, and then the winner.
That's right. Now that you mentioned it, it was Eddie.
The winner, I believe, was the Predator, the big Predator guy. I don't know if you remember him.
Oh, yeah, I remember we had the naked girl, basically, and the naked girl competing. I mean, she was naked. I mean, sorry, just body paint.
I didn't want to say that because the wife is here. She might throw a sandal at me. If I remember that one.
You mean a chancla?
A chancla, yeah.
No, I remember because that was there was a guy who looked like Johnny Depp. Remember?
Yeah, Johnny Depp.
And I find out that he was a police officer as well. I don't know if we remember that.
I don't remember that, but I remember, Johnny Depp. And, we asked for the price. People were paying $500 just to get their costumes,
Right.
And we're like, why are you doing it? It's $500. You're going to get $750. You only get $250. He goes, dude, we're doing it for fun because we like doing it,
Right,
and it was the best. It was a good memory. It was one of the best events that we had there.
So, unfortunately, 720 religion done. They closed down, right? That was it. That was the moment that I started Andromedas. Excuse me, Alhambra.
Alhambra.
That's when I started. And if you remember, that kind of was like, all right. I remember. I think it was my Friday night and Tuesday night. That's what I was doing there at Alhambra. And it was, I had left 720, but you guys still only had religion at one point.
Yes.
It was not 7, it was 720. So there was maybe about 6-month transition that 720 closed down completely.
Well, yeah, I was let go from 720 before they closed down. They said, for whatever reason, right? I was let go of, but because I wasn't okay with a couple of things that they were doing at the club after that. From moving the 3rd floor, religion, I was never okay with that. But, who am I? I'm just an employee of the club, right? And then the 2nd floor, they wanted to transition that one too. So there was 2 and 2, 2 floors each, which, back in the day, $20 to get in, that was a lot of money. For 4 floors, it was worth it. For 2 floors, it's not worth it, especially, I remember, people telling me when we were first DJing on the 1st floor, if I took a girl with me to the club and I paid, that's $40 just to get in. I have to buy her a drink. I'm already in the debt $50, but it was worth it because there was 4 floors. Now, splitting that up, it was not the right thing. Lindsay, the other manager at the time, was not struggling as much. She did the best as she could, but she different changes that the other people wanted to do was not helping. And so I was let go of because I wasn't yes man. You know, I was more of like, no, we shouldn't do that. We shouldn't do that. And I was let go of before the closing. And I did. I remember sitting in the office and I told them, you know what, you know, that sucks that I have to leave, but you know what, you'll be shut down soon. You know, they laughed at me. They laughed at me like, yeah, whatever, dude. You know, but it's because we were seeing the change. All the Latinos, all the Latin people had left. You know, did you went somewhere? You went to Alhambra. They all were going to Alhambra. Other clubs were already popping. What you call it? Sangria and Transit. They were all playing the Latin music. So they had a variety of stuff. Republic was another one. And when I was let go of from 720, Mike Messina had moved to Republic nightclub, and that's where I went. Mike took me under his boat. Mike took me under his wing again, and we were back at it. It wasn't 720 anymore, but it was Republic, and that had its own animal, you know.
Right, and that's when and again, Ed Tunney and Henry had Republic. Yes. That was most of Henry, and I remember that was the whole thing. And then Carlos Vasquez, I think that was the other partner and stuff like that. There, the lawyer, Carlos Vasquez.
Yeah, the lawyer.
Because his son was always there, and I remember it was always, you know, dealing with his son as well. So I remember that was kind of the thing. I think, how long did Republic last for? Do you remember how long we
5 years, 4 or 5 years?
Okay.
Yeah, because I was there for 3.5, 4 years, maybe four or 5 years, something like that.
And
but that I'm talking. I was Edgar Marroquin was the manager before I stepped in. So. Okay. So Republic was already going on when 720 when I was still working at 720.
Right. Because I remember that was what Ed did, because he left 720 and then he was working with Henry, and I remember, I think it was like a 2-year overlap.
Yeah,
they had Republic and 720 was going on at the same time. And different promoters.
So you can see already, you know, Ed left. Ed had his following. He had his emails, and then you left. You know, and promoting that. So you know, you can see the big dip for overnight. You know, it's like, what do we do now?
Right.
But you know, 720. The second 720 also had a great group of DJs. DJ Aura, one of the most phenomenal DJs now. Good friend of mine, Curious George, my compadre, you know, all these guys, they
Metro.
You know what? The funny thing about Metro, I didn't know Metro until I worked at Republic. And Metro went into the office with the guys, with Curious George, Aura, Elite, and all them. He walked in and they introduced him to us, Mike and myself, you know, and he was a young kid. You know.
He wasn't old enough to even be in the club.
Yeah,
it's a fact. It's a fact.
It is.
He was like 17 years old at the time.
Yeah, and you know, he was in there DJing, you know, and then Aura kept telling me, goes, dude, this guy is gonna be good. This guy is phenomenal. And we heard him mix. Oh my God, you know, it was like, okay, good. You know, I'm like, oh, this guy's gonna be a great DJ. And then to find out later that he's Nonstop's family member, you know. I was like, oh God, you know, I know Nonstop for a long time, you know, and I talked to Nonstop, and you know, I asked my little cousin this and that, and you know, look at him now. Metro is when I see him, I was like, man, I knew that kid.
Yeah, I remember, because at the time, Aura and Gonzo, they were on the first floor, and I remember Metro DJing. And they kept saying, you know, you got to check out this guy. This guy is really good. This guy is really, and, you know, we were just like, wow, man, he's actually really good. And then once he started scratching, that was it. We were all like, oh yeah. My God, you know, like, and then we compared, it's Bad Boy Bill, flip side. I go, but this guy's only 17 years old. And I remember Mike knew he was 17 years old. And Mike would always say, well, I don't want no drinking behind here and stuff like that. The guy was like, no, man, you know, I met his parents the first time there at 720.
Metro's parents.
Yes, and you know, Metro would tell you that I've had a great relationship with the parents because of the fact that they knew me from the old school days of Tropicana and stuff like that, and so they knew about me. So they no, he's a good kid. He's not going to drink. He's not going to do anything stupid and stuff like that. And and especially the father was really like, no, we're keeping an eye on him. He's not going to do anything like that. It's just, and I, once I started talking to his parents, and I felt, okay, you know what, this kid reminded me of me when I was little, 15-year-old, 16 years old, and in the club. And if I didn't drink, I didn't do any of the dark side of the nightclub aspect of it, because it was about the business of DJing and stuff like that. So I kind of I understood where the parents were coming from, and Metro. And, I think it was after that, I seen him DJing again over at Republic. Is that correct?
Yeah.
He was doing guest spots and stuff. But he was starting to do guest spots at a lot of places.
Yeah, he was going back and forth where we could have kept him as a resident at Republic, Why we didn't get him at a residency at Republic, I don't know, But once people start seeing his potential, he just took off from there. He, at different clubs, different places, and look at him now. More, give him a lot of credit for that.
Right. So you did Republic. What happens after Republic? What happens? Where do you go into this industry?
In Republic, I stood at Republic for a while. I loved it. After Republic closed, I was taken into another nightclub on Rush Street. Detention. I started, and the only reason why I got that spot was because Manolo from Nitro, he's involved with that, and he told one of the owners, he's like, this kid is good.
You talk about Perry Orr.
Yes, Perry Orr. So he said this kid, so Perry took me in an interview and said he is in need of another manager. He saw my reputation, good and bad, right? But more of the good side. He said that, I had potential. I worked there for maybe a month or so, and I quit while he fired me at the same time. It was both, a disagreement of how coming from a big club and then to Republic, but it was still the same family, the fundamentals of how we managed, and it was a family orientated club. Everybody knew each other, everybody knew their families. Over here, it was more distant from each other. Some security weren't doing what they were supposed to do. I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't like coming into work, every day and stuff like that. So at that time, I was like, that's it. I'm not going to work there anymore. And from there, I had other places that I could have worked at nightclubs following that, but I was already married. So my wife put a stop to that. She said, you nailed it earlier, saying, hey, you know what, after the clubs, we were there till 10, 11 o'clock in the morning just to mellow down. Right. So Sundays going home in the afternoon at 12 p.m., driving in traffic, You know what they say, happy life, happy wife. Yes, sir. Yes. And she said, you know what, pick one, the family or this lifestyle. So, I picked the family because I had my two kids at the time, and it wasn't worth me, letting them go for nightclubs, which I know wasn't going to last anyways. So the next best thing for me was do the recording studios, recording, doing live sound, a lot of live sound. And Nandi Max was one that took me also under his wing. And he saw, I guess he saw what I did before, the value of it, So he counted on me in helping him set up sound systems. And then with that, once I let go of the clubs, I was doing sound systems for the clubs. At 858, I helped out, fix some sound systems.
So you're doing installments then? You were doing installments, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that took another year or two until I found the next best thing for a club is working in the audiovisual industry, where I still deal with the equipment. I don't DJ, but now I'm the director where for that company, PSAV. It's an audiovisual company. It's all over the world. Like if I go out to Orlando now, I can get a job there for the weekend, just to go have fun, but I still work. And this company has took me under the wing also. And I still do the same thing, minus the drinking, minus the nightclub atmosphere. But I still have big shows, $100,000 shows that I have to manage, and I have a team that I have to manage, make sure that everything's done correctly.
So, in the course of your history, give me your number one highlight. It's like that's your wow factor.
My wow factor was at 720 DJing on the first floor, at 720 meeting everybody and getting to meet my wife there. I met the wife there.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, the funny part is there was one Saturday night, Wesley was tired. He's like, dude, you want to jump on? I'm like, nah. He's like, just jump on. And I jumped on. I was playing hip hop. I played hip hop, dude. Everybody got on the floor. Everybody was on the floor. Mike Messina was bartending at the time, and if you remember, we had record crates. So we had
Mike, was it Mike and Sonia or Mike and Hamero? Who was there on the first floor?
I think it was Sonia. It might have been Sonia. Mike and Sonia. So, but the funny part, I know Ed's gonna kill me if he ever watches this. Remember we have the record crates, the lids and stuff. You carry them. Well, we used to take like 7 or 8 of them, and we took most of them with record crates, but the other cases were with beer because we didn't want to pay for beers. So we had two. We had 2 drink tickets, and then we're like, okay, we're done. Let's grab our beers. And it was just a couple of the DJs. We weren't giving it out to nobody else, right? But and I was a fan of Budweiser at the time. So I was taking my Budweisers in, and then Ed one day found out. He was like, who the fuck is bringing beers in? We're gonna find out and catch it. We're like, how can you tell? He goes, the ones they're bringing, they're short necks. The ones we get, they're long necks. We stopped that right away. But that night I went to go get a beer and came back to start DJing. So I'm DJing, and it's, I'm having a blast. People are dancing, they're jamming. And there's one person that wasn't dancing. And it was my wife. She was sitting in one of the high boys by the double doors on the side, and it bugged me. I finished my set, and Wesley took over, and I went over there and I said, hey, did you like my set? She's like, nah, it was okay. I'm like, okay, would you like something to drink? She's like, no, thank you. But her at the time, she had like 20 different cousins, and all her cousins are like, we do, so I went to Mike Messina. I said, dude, you need to hook me up, bro. I need some drinks. He's like, what do you need? I said, I got this cute girl I want to talk to, but she's got cousins. He's like, I got you. How many, 3 drinks? I'm like, no, give me like 6 or 7 drinks. He's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, just give them to me, dude. He gave them to me. And that's how, after that, we kicked it off, man. It was almost 20 years married,
Oh, wow. That's a cool story.
Yeah, it's a cool story, but she doesn't like my mixing. I guess she listens to it all the time here. She's like, it's okay,
Well, I mean, but that's good because you needed somebody to give you the opposite. Yeah, and it probably strive you to get better. Per se.
You know what? We always argue about is she says, I say, why don't we always agree on stuff? She's like, look, if we always agree, life would be boring.
Right. Right.
So that makes it interesting. It's apples and oranges. The yin and yang, and we're both from November. We're both Scorpions. So can you imagine the fights in this house?
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But have you been doing live streaming now on DJing?
I did 2 of them. I did one on Friday. For some reason the sound wasn't as expected, but they booted me out. Facebook, obviously, Facebook is copyright and stuff like that. But I'm gonna continue to do it, but in our stream. I reached out to some of the fellow DJs, and they said, try this one, do it here. I love mixing. I love I mix everything, bachata, reggaeton, everything that we have, norteñas, cumbias. But the top 3 that I have, the best one is reggaeton. Reggaeton for me is like the wow factor, and followed by cumbia and bachata. The family here love when I mix, especially New Year's Eve here. It looks like a little nightclub because I have the turntables, and then I have video mapping. I map the walls. The whole thing is like the whole spiel is here. But and I do a lot of right now. I've been doing a lot of in my community. I do a lot of schools. a lot of gigs for schools, and and a lot of mobile DJing. Well, before this pandemic happened, but
Right.
I think that was the best now, for me, because I get to come home by 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, I'm home, and I do my stuff. I love making people dance. And then that's the best part, when they come and say, thank you, I had a blast, we're going to count on you again,
So with this pandemic, has it affected your, doing the audio visual, or is it what's going on with your current situation?
No, I am blessed. Number one, I'm blessed that being a director, obviously it's a salary gig, so we're getting paid. I work from home every day, just to make sure we're in contact with our clients, our salespeople, our booking shows for November, December, and the following year.
Okay.
So that at that point, we didn't take a hit as much, with this pandemic. My mother's been with me here since it started, because she lives by herself, but we told her to come over here so we can keep an eye on her, and I feel more comfortable with that, having her here.
Right.
And the rest of the family, obviously, they're all in quarantine. They stayed home. And my father was affected by the virus. He did get the COVID-19. We were worried about him, but we just got the news a couple of days ago that he finally, after his 4th test, he got negative. He was negative, so he's back to normal. But
So
yeah,
was he hospitalized, or was he just at home being sick and stuff? Because I know
they didn't take him. They didn't want to take him because he wasn't in respiratory situation yet. He had the pinches, he had all the symptoms. He says it was real miserable. He didn't want to do anything, he always tired, sleepy, coughing, the breathing. But it wasn't enough for the hospitals to admit him. So, me being Hispanic and from Mexico, all my family, they got their remedies. The vapor rub, with the tortillas on the chest, with napkins, and the burnt tomato. I don't know if you heard of that one, the burnt tomato.
No, I haven't heard that one. Sorry.
But the whole family started chiming in and saying, "Hey, Uncle, do it this way, do this." And believe it or not, he did some of that stuff, and I'm not going to say it cured him, but it helped him go day by day, and I just saw him.
Right. That's, I think that's kind of for a lot of people, they understood, because, I mean, I often wonder if the remedy of getting a shot or a pill is always the best thing, because you got to treat your mind too. You got to treat the psychology of it as well, because if I know for a fact there's people that if you think you're sick, you get sick. So if rubbing the egg on your, the egg, and like I've seen before.
We do it over here, trust me.
So yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So I see that. Then if that's going to psychologically help you, to get better, then you're going to feel better. Not that I'm saying that's the cure all or anything like that, but I'm sure that's to help your, the panacea of the symptoms.
Yeah.
So that's it. So it's cool. Any last words before we cut out? We physically actually cut without the emergencies per se.
No, just thank you for your time, man. I'm blessed to get a chance to speak with you and then let people know my side of the story, to the young guys and even to the older guys. Myself right now, I have a couple guys that come here, when we're having drinking parties and we turn the turntables and I show them a thing or two. Some of these older guys are like, I'm not teaching anybody, let them learn on their own. I'm not that kind of guy. I like showing everybody. And the only thing I tell everybody is, if you love what you're doing, keep doing it, and continue to do it. I'm successful because I kept going with what I love to do, and it's music. It's the audio industry. It's recording. I've met a bunch of people, up and down. I met you, I met a lot of guys, and because of that, I pursued, my engineering record. And my mother was one that always backed me up. She's always like, keep pushing. If and my dad was a little hard on me on that, but you know, because he wanted me to be, you know, one of those just go to work, get the job done. You know, he always thought that I used to go to 720 and mop the floors before going to party, you know. And he, until today, he'll say, he's like, what, are you gonna go mop the floors and stuff? But to everybody out there, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, if you love doing it, don't give up. You know, people do internship, they do it for free until they're ready, until it's their time. Eventually, it'll be your time to shine. My time passed in the shining moments, but I still have something else up my sleeve that maybe I'll come back and DJ in the club.
Ask your wife first.
You know what? She's already given me the. I even tell her, even till today, this past couple of days, I'm like, I can't wait till this quarantine's over. I'm gonna go out, spend at least $200, get drunk, and have fun with my friends. You know, or go to a club. And she's like, nope, you're too old. I'm like, what do you mean you're too old? Yeah, I'm not old. You know, there's people that are 60 years old out there having fun. I can't be one of those. She's like, no, you have a life. I have a family. So if you can help me, Prieto, maybe one of these you say, hey, Cheezeball, I need you to Alhambra Palace so I can go over there and I got an excuse to go.
Well, guess what? That's an excuse that all the DJs want. So I'm going to have a full house of DJs and no customers.
Hey, wouldn't that be nice, though, to have all of us together and just, you know, just go.
You know, and I know, I mean, not to break the subject, but I know that, you know, there's a couple of DJs that have tried that per se.
Yeah.
You know, there's what you call it. I know Ricky has tried that and stuff like that with his
PB&J, yeah, PB&J show.
Stuff. You know, I give credit to a lot of the guys and stuff like that, but all of us have, you know, our lives. You know, there's the club life and then there's the family life, and it's just stuff. Just like when we had this interview, and the real life is that my basement is getting flooded while I'm talking to you. So I said, oh, gotta go. You know, my dad's over there trying to do whatever. And then I'm out in the rain and we're cutting with the hacksaw, you know, doing what we do. And it's just life. You know, we got to deal with life and stuff like that. Thank God it stopped raining. Thank God.
Thank God it stopped raining, but we make the best of it. You know, you got to make the best of what it is. You know, and if you crumble because of that, and it spoils the rest of your night, then you know you need a lot of growing up to do. But
honestly, that's why I said, you know what, you know, maybe we're gonna do the interview another day. So no, man, let's do this tonight because I think this is, you know, I think it's important that people know about you and stuff like that. And as I still tell everybody, you know, the fact that people got to see you spinning for an hour and a half, 2 hours, do they really know what why you're doing what you're doing? You know, this is why we're here doing this and stuff like that. But I'm really, you told me things that I didn't know. I'm sure a lot of people didn't know and stuff like that. How you met your wife, number one, the Fullerton boys and stuff like that. It was, that was good. That was
the Cheezeball name. I don't know. Maybe I should change it.
It's stuck. It's stuck. There you go. All right, guys, that's it for the Front Door Show. Thank you very much. We'll see you again tomorrow, 8 o'clock. We got a whole big lineup for this whole week. Thank you, Caesar.
Hey, thank you.
Don't hang up yet, and then we're going to let everybody go. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye. Thank you.